Our next question is from Ryan, who asks, as Palantir continues to invest in new AI technologies and expand globally, how are you balancing these investments with maintaining or improving profitability and operating margins, especially given the current macroeconomic challenges?
We aren't just balancing, we're excelling. Revenue grew 30% year over year in Q3, 44% in the US in the quarter, and you couple that with our expanding margins in the quarter. We did 38% adjusted operating margin, our 8th consecutive quarter of expanding margins, and we posted 68 in the Rule of 40 score. At the same time, we had an outstanding adjusted free cash flow margin in the quarter, 60%. And so looking forward, we're raising guidance. We're raising guidance for adjusted free cash flow to an excess of $1 billion for full year 2024. We're raising adjusted operating income guidance to an excess of $1 billion, well over that actually, which represents a 39% margin in Q4. And we're doing all this while we're continuing to invest at the beginning of the AI revolution. There is an incredible amount of demand there, and we're investing in technical talent, and we're continuing to build out world-class product.
There's a steelman version of this, which is, given how well you're doing, given you've really accelerated to 30%, given the US is growing 44%, why don't you blow up your Rule of 68, which, by the way, to my knowledge, is the single best of comparable companies in the world, and significantly better than many very strong companies. So an average normal way of looking at Palantir would be like, oh, great, you have a 44% growth on a $2 billion base in the US, and you have a Rule of 68, get that 68 down to 50, and maybe you can grow. But in fact, that way of looking at a business misunderstands the way in which Palantir builds. We believe that by investing, and we know at this point, instead of trying to have 10,000 clients, all of whom hate you, it's kind of what people want, 10,000 clients that hate you, but they can't get rid of your product. We want a smaller number of the world's best partners that, quite frankly, are dominating with our product. And the way you do that is by not blowing up your margin and getting 10,000 salespeople. It's actually by going deeper on the product. And in fact, what we see is the deeper and the better the product, the more we drive sales, the more we have our cultural singular advantage as Palantir, not as a commodity product. It's like, we are not a commodity. We do not want our customers to be commodities. We want them to be individual titans that are dominating their industry or the battlefield. And we reflect that in how we do things. We are not trying to be your average Harvard Business School preferred company with that reduces the margins, has a thin product, and then has a lower Rule of 40 and presumably higher growth. By the way, I don't think you'd get higher growth than what we have. Honestly, although we of course are always pushing and want even higher growth, the people who tend to ask these questions tend to be modeling companies with 20% growth and lower margins. We have 44% growth in the most important market in the world, arguably not the only, but by far the most valuable market in the world, while having a Rule of 68, i.e. the best in the world. And we're going to maintain the contradiction of having both high margins and high growth. It's not one or the other. They're actually interplayed, and they're not a contradiction. They power each other. That's how you know you have world-class products. That's what you see in your numbers.
Thank you both.